This is the Crossfire Podcast, brought to you by Outlaw Legacy. And hello.
What's up?
We are here for episode, 3? Yeah,
Three.
number 3 already.
Tres.
Dre's practicing her Spanish.
Yeah. I was hoping it wasn't 4 because I can't say 4.
Cuatro.
I say closet, I think. Cuarto.
Cuarto,
No, that's
that's
room.
room.
Oh, room.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can't
It's
say
without
4.
the R. Cuatro.
Cuatro.
Yeah, there you go.
Like squat
I
without
literally
the
just said the
S.
same thing, I think. Cuatro.
Cuatro, yeah.
Oh, that's 4? It's not room?
No, the
No.
No, you said
Cuart-
it's different. You said last time you said
I
cuarto.
just can't tell the difference.
And this is Dre, folks.
Hello.
Yep. We got Dre over here, and we're going to tell her story. But first, Amanda is across from me. Say hello, Amanda.
Hello.
So, and I'm Craig. And that's it.
And that's it. And we've got 4 dogs in the household. So you might hear some
Click-clacks.
click-clacks on the floor or
Barking.
barking a little bit here
nothing.
and there. Yeah.
We-
That's what they're
The
best
wall.
at.
At the wall.
Barking at nothing.
You went cross-eyed there. You focused on your mic somewhere, and you went cross-eyed. That was awesome.
We
Best
have it on
at-
video, I'm sure.
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're going to tell Dre's story. Obviously, she is
It's
Amanda's...
not a long one.
Amanda's sister. Yeah, but
she's young.
I'm only 22.
you've already gone through your midlife crisis and
Yeah.
some other things. So,
So I thought.
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
maybe your quattro life process. It's a crisis, not process. So, anyways, welcome back to the Crossfire Podcast. We are having a lot of fun doing this, and it is still that same Sunday afternoon, and enjoying our time together. We have a few drinks. Everybody's kind of moving to water, which I've noticed. I don't know what's up with that.
I
Finished
forgot
our-
to refill my cup.
Finished our first drink. And really,
That looks murky as hell.
It looks nasty now.
wow.
I'll wait for another one when we get chinnies.
Chinese.
That's what we're all here for, is the Chinese we all promised each other.
That's what I showed up at 10 o'clock for.
Yeah, that is true.
Otherwise, I would have gone out and partied.
Last night, she actually showed a lot of reserve and dedication to our craft,
Yeah, I'm proud of her.
because she did go out partying last night, but she did not drink.
She didn't go too crazy because...
No, not too much. Yeah.
Why? Why didn't you go too crazy?
Because
okay?
I
Yeah, I'm
sound like a man already, I think. And when I'm hungover,
Do you really want me to answer that?
it's times 10. And I just sound way too groggy.
Groggy.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
You got a Sapo Verde in your throat down there.
I always do, really. Though.
Oh, right. Well, today, like we talked about, we're giving Dre's story. Or Dre's telling her story.
Yeah, and we're gonna prompt her with some stories that we remember, because we have some.
There's a lot.
I've been around since she was born.
She,
Yeah. That's
she
how
may
you
be-
act, at least.
she may be 22, but she's lived a full life already.
She has lived a full life. And so I was 9 when Dre was born. There's a 9 and some change, like almost 10 years age difference between us. So it's been interesting at times.
Yeah. But I've definitely never seen you as I don't know. I feel as if you are not my sister, but more as a parent.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's always, sorry, I'm adjusting my chair and Craig's just looking at me like I'm crazy. Yeah, no, I definitely feel like now it feels more like sisters, but before then it didn't. I felt like I was definitely in a parent role, even up until I remember I was out at college and she would call and be like, "Can I spend the night at Isabel's house?"
Yes.
And I'm like,
Isabel Lopez.
I was calling you up until my sophomore year of high
yeah,
school,
really, like,
asking permission.
can
to
I do
things.
this? Can I do that? And I'm like, well, why don't you ask Pop? Pop says I have to ask you.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Or I would text you and you're like, oh, I'm at so-and-so's place. And I'm like, okay, make sure you'd let Pop know, because he probably doesn't know. Or
Yeah.
I'm giving you permission, so you need to let him know. But yeah, that's kind of, well, I guess let's back up a little bit there, because
Just make sure you're talking. We're learning as we
it.
go. Yeah, so you have to talk directly into it. It's not a
I can't turn and look at Dre
Right.
and talk. Okay. So our parents separated when I was.
It's not about you. It's about Dre.
I know, but
No,
so my parents were
I have no
separated.
idea.
I don't remember how old. I think. So I think when they like finally
I was at
officially
least 4.
when they finally officially separated, I was 15, and so what's 15
Minus 9 is 4. She's
4?
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were 4. So
I do remember my 5th birthday,
mhm.
and
Because you weren't drunk then?
hey, I'm not an alcoholic, okay? I just like to have fun. No, I do remember my 5th birthday being kind of different.
Mhm.
Like, that's the real first thing I remember. But yeah, I remember mom coming but not being around completely.
Yeah, so they separated, and even before that, though, I was like very hands on with the like raising you because my mom worked like she worked graveyard,
Yeah.
and
So she slept all day.
yeah, and she worked at night, and then my dad's hours were off, so it was up like they depended on me to like help get her ready and take her to school.
She used to walk me to school.
I would walk her to preschool, yeah, because
I remember that.
it was across the street from my middle school
Yeah.
where I was going, and she was young, so she was like I'd still put her in a stroller.
Yeah, I was in a stroller,
Yeah.
and Marcella would have to carry
Yeah,
your
our cousin-
instrument.
Our cousin Marcella, who's my age, we were both in band. We both played the saxophone, and we would take turns. Like one would push the stroller, and the other one would carry both instruments, and then we would like switch it
Yeah.
out because the instruments were so heavy.
Yeah.
So that was
That didn't last long though, because I was a preschool dropout.
yeah. She was a preschool dropout. But so it was always kind of
Because
like
you couldn't remember your 5th birthday or your 6th birthday?
No, I don't know why.
it was a very much like parental role at that time. So that's kind of where the relationship started.
Being that your mom was away, your dad was working.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So when my parents
He had just
split-
gotten hired at the school
yeah,
for the district.
and he
and
was
so-
working nights at the time.
Yeah, he's working nights. He was a janitor. I remember that. And then he moved on to mowing lawns and
Mhm. He
started
kind of
working during the day.
worked his
He was
promotions
doing a
up.
lot of different jobs
He
just
was-
to make ends meet at that
Yeah,
time.
and so when he first started, it was nights, and so it was up to me to like get the girls like when they would come home from school, make sure that everybody's eaten and done their homework, and oh my gosh, trying to get Dre to do her homework. Oh, and then it was always a fight about what we were gonna eat because, as we talked about in the previous episodes, she is a foodie, so nothing like. You couldn't just make her a PB&J. Like
No, it's not good enough.
it had to be something extra or special. And I remember
4-course meal.
yes, when we used to go out and eat, they would give her like a kids menu, and she would ask for the full menu because she didn't want what was on the kids menu.
No, it's just a basic menu.
Yeah.
Why would you want like 4 options?
Right.
What were they like?
she
Chicken
wanted
nuggets,
chicken nuggets,
she didn't-
mac and cheese.
Hot
Yeah.
dog that's
She
completely
didn't-
plain. Ew.
no corn dog. She wanted like the
Maybe a hamburger or quesadilla.
And you know what's funny is
She
I
wanted
used
the
to be a
shrimp
corn
cocktail.
dog fanatic.
yeah, she.
I
were-
remember that. And
you
last
were
night I had a
obsessed.
corn dog for the first time in years, and I told Dylan I haven't eaten a corn dog.
You were
in
burnt out.
Yeah, I was burnt out for a very long
We
time.
used to get like they were boxes.
Yeah.
We used to get boxes of corn dogs, and she was the only one who ate them. And it was kind of like the Dino Nuggets. Everything else in her life that she consumed so much until the point that it grossed her out. She hasn't had it since.
I definitely go through my phases.
So Dre is definitely the quirky one in our family. She, from the very moment that she was born, she always said how she felt. She never held anything back. She doesn't have a filter, but she always like marched to the beat of her own drum, even if it was different. And I think at some point in life, you became a teenager, and it became a little difficult to do that because you start to get judged.
It was a
and
mold
stuff.
that people wanted me to fit in, and it was very difficult for me.
Yeah, but you still were pretty true to who you were, and I think that you've carried that out throughout your whole life, and it's been admirable to watch because you just do whatever it is that you feel.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So she's because of that. I think her quirkiness has led her to have a life that has been very full to now.
Well, and she's just a character.
She
I
is.
mean,
Yeah.
just her personality, and it's by itself is just full of life because she's literally one of the funniest people I know.
Yeah.
And that's a compliment, Trey.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the first time I complimented you today.
Thank
Don't
you.
tear up.
No, I won't. I'll keep them back.
Okay, so growing up,
It's just the onions.
Yeah.
you definitely had an abnormal childhood.
Yes.
It was different. It was different than the rest of us. But what were some things that really stood out to you?
Is that a dog?
I think so.
Is Birdie crying behind the bedroom door?
I don't hear anything anymore.
I hear it.
I heard it that one time, but I don't hear any.
Go ahead. I'll go grab her.
What do you mean stood out?
Yeah, any
Like times?
moments that really were different, or what kind of helped like mold you to what you are,
Not
to who you are, not what you are.
really. I don't really remember much. I remember probably like 10-ish so and up. But honestly, I felt like by that time you were in high school and you weren't really home very much because you were very involved in school.
Yeah.
So I was stuck at home with B. And if I wasn't at home with B, then I was next door with Shirley Nurtured, or I was at the Lopez's house.
Yeah. Or there were times where you would like have to go to my soccer practices.
Yeah,
and
or
stuff.
I have to go sit
wherever
there,
I
or
was, she was
go and sit at pop soccer practices. And so I felt like, honestly, like I didn't get to see you guys much. I felt like I was always being taken care of by somebody else just because everybody's in the house had so much going on. So yeah, I feel like it definitely took, I mean, this is so cheesy, but it definitely took, what did they say? A village.
a village
Yeah.
to raise you. Yeah. But
Because she was the crazy one.
yeah, but not like not out of control.
No, I wasn't out of control. It was just, there was a lot going on at the time.
Yeah.
You were the youngest,
I was the youngest,
and you
and
were kind of just not left behind, but just like you were
no, but
you were in a different time or age than
Yeah.
everybody else was.
yeah, everybody was growing up. Everybody had finally gotten their shit together for the most part. And it was just kind of like, oh, well, where do we fit Dre in? Is almost how it felt.
Well, you were just a tag along
not
for a
in
lot
a
of
bad
things.
way either. But
Yeah.
like, I mean, they were trying to grow up too. They had their own, like, I couldn't imagine being in high school and trying to drag around my little sister everywhere.
Yeah.
So
Not that it actually was very easy. I mean, no offense to Pieces, but you were much easier than P was.
yeah,
But
Well, that's just just a different personality.
yeah.
You're very much easier, just in general, like just because your personality is just more bubbly and it's just different. She's just a different person.
yeah.
But I think the influence of the village definitely played an influence on you because that introduced you to other
I feel like it was a good
things.
little circle. That
Yeah,
I
it
in.
was.
You have a lot of stories about Amanda as well because you were
I got to observe a lot.
You were the eyes.
I also got to stir the pot a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, she still does.
You were the eyes in the back seat is what I was getting
Yeah,
at. It's
Dre
like,
is a
I'd have to sit in the trunk
chismosa.
everywhere we went because
Okay, first of all, it wasn't a trunk. It wasn't like a car, like a sedan trunk.
No, but I didn't have a seatbelt or a seat.
No,
So-
so it was like an SUV in the very back.
you just hung onto the spare tire.
It's not like we enclosed you and you couldn't breathe. You were in the cab with the rest of us.
Yes.
So-
But no, I felt like, yeah, I got to see a lot of what you and B were doing because you guys were out partying and having fun, but just had to take me along because Pop was out
being
doing his own
babysat,
thing
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And so I felt like from having done that, I learned a lot from both you and B, like in good in both ways, but mostly like the mistakes you guys made.
Mhm.
I feel like I've learned from, and I haven't made the same mistakes.
Well, good.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
you were in the back seat of a lot of crazy car rides.
And it's not like most of the time it wasn't even your friends. I feel like it was like 1 out of the like 10 times it was your friends, but most of the time it was our cousins
It's
and
family.
It was
Yeah.
family.
Yeah,
because you guys were pretty close.
yeah, they were
Yeah.
about the same age and they were out doing the same things.
Yeah.
So
Overall, it was a lot of fun.
But in general, you guys are the youngest three, other than
Yes.
Tia
I am the
Lucia's family or side.
second youngest out of the cousins.
Out of our cousins.
Loop is the first, and then it's
She's the
me.
baby, yeah.
And I can't think who's after. I think Nemo is after me.
Probably. So I'm like right in the middle toward the end of the lineup as far as our cousins go. And this is on my dad's side. So I think I counted it and we have like 24 or so first cousins. That number, there's an asterisk because
I'm pretty sure I'm the second.
You were the second.
Or the first youngest, maybe on mom's side as well.
Yes.
Because I think it's me and Sonia that are the, so I'm the first youngest on that side as well.
So there is a huge age gap or age difference between our cousins. And
there's a huge age difference between
my aunts and uncles. So my dad has 9 brothers and sisters, and he is the second youngest of the 9, and he has nieces and nephews that are his age. So we have cousins who are almost our parents.
Older than your parents.
Or about the same age as my mom, at least. Lorena is.
So it's weird because our families kind of grew up in stages, you know, like the older ones and their kids kind of grew up together, and then the younger ones and their kids grew up together. So there was always family around. But for the most part, I kind of feel bad because with Dre and like the younger ones, there aren't very many of them. So you never really had the same like family opportunity, being immersed with a ton of cousins and stuff. And it's also the same way on my mom's side. But, that didn't matter because you were hanging out with the older ones.
Yeah, and I think because of that, I matured a lot faster than most people my age. But yeah, everybody was just a lot older, and I had no other choice. I had to hang out with you guys.
Yeah, and I think also hanging out with older people made you very confident at a young age. Like you knew.
Well, but also I feel like our family is very like confident and full of themselves, and not like in a bad way, you know, but like they're definitely cocky.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
Everybody is loud and
So, but from a young age, you kind of what did you want to be when you grew up? Do you remember that?
So I've always liked cooking, even though I'm not the best at it. So I knew early on that I like wanted to become a chef or like review food. But I also really liked Ellen for some reason. I don't know why. I was so fixated on her.
Show.
But I wanted to be a talk show host.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Here you are.
Complete 360 now, though, because I have social anxiety like crazy. And so I couldn't imagine, ever.
But there is something about being behind a microphone instead of being on video.
Yeah.
That is a little bit more comforting for an introvert.
There is. Yeah.
I mean, it feels like we have a lot of, all 3 of us are introverts in their own way, different levels, but, it's a lot easier to be a voice instead of to be seen. I think that's the scary part of being seen is there's people out there that are personality-wise that are just in the show light. They want to be the center of attention. We're not that way. So this is even work for us, but it's a lot easier than being on video.
Yeah, but I wanted to be the next Ellen.
Yeah.
The next straight Ellen.
Yeah. She made a point of that.
Well, it's not a prerequisite to be Ellen.
No, but she just, at a very young age, she just said that. And I remember thinking, how do you even know that?
And so I think what made me interested is Amanda and I used to vlog.
We vlogged
every
before
day,
vlogging was cool,
like all the time. And they were long vlogs. I felt like,
and it was like daily, everything we were doing.
We would just come up with talking points, or like just turn on a camera and go at it.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in the corner of the room just watching us, like, what are you what is going on here?
And she came to me. She was probably 6 at the time, and she said, I want to YouTube. I want to have a YouTube channel. And I remember at the time thinking okay, it's my responsibility to give her an answer because my dad has no clue what the internet is or what YouTube is.
YouTube?
It was still very, very elementary at that time. So I remember thinking to myself, it took me a few days before I gave you an answer. And I remember thinking to myself, how irresponsible or immature would it be if I allowed her to get on this platform where people could bully her and stuff like that? I didn't feel that I would be doing you
justice
to let you on the platform. So I remember I said no to you. And then, but I also felt really guilty and torn because I was like,
you wanted her to be herself. Yeah.
This kid, she was made for the spotlight. She really was. And, yes, it was difficult. I wish I don't know. I don't have any of those old vlog files.
No, you know, I still have that laptop.
Oh, we've got to figure out how to.
I'm sure you could take like the memory out of it somehow and put it on a flash drive.
We're gonna have to figure that out because there's probably a lot of old
all
pictures
of those videos are on it. I'm
yeah,
sure.
so vlogging was very much into it. But that's kind of the start.
That's what started it. Yeah.
Which I think there's a lot of problem with having old computers. Like my parents, we were just looking for pictures of me when I was younger, and she has boxes of pictures, and she has films and that have not been developed and stuff like that. But where the death of a lot of like early 2000s, mid 2000s pictures and videos and things go to die, or
and
hard drives that get aged out.
You would think that they had a different system by now.
Well, I mean, they do.
They do, but like it's so difficult to.
But if you lose a hard drive, you lose a lot of, everything on it. So
back then we weren't thinking about preservation mode. We were just thinking about like the documents, where I think now in the digital age that we're at, we're looking at saving these long term. So there's the cloud and all of that stuff. But we lost.
I don't know how many laptops that I have that probably have really cool pictures of me doing stuff, or, just family pictures that I don't know if I can even turn them on or find the charger for them or anything like that.
Yeah.
So that leads me to a moment in life where we knew that you were quirky and we knew that you were meant for the spotlight, but we didn't quite understand. Like, there's obviously a bias when it's your family.
Yeah.
And I remember we were down in the mall in Southern California, and I think
we were there for the summer.
Yeah. So we had stayed, my mom lived in Southern California, and we would go stay with her for the summer. And at this particular time, it was a couple weeks or a week or something. And she was bringing us back home, but it was the middle of summer and it was hot.
I think that was the time that Beezus and I didn't pack any clothes. And so we had to go get whole new wardrobes. I'm almost positive.
We have to tell that story, though.
It was that story.
You have to write that down.
Another one.
We have to tell that story.
It was similar to that, but it wasn't. She was driving us home. It was late in the day, and she wanted to wait for traffic to go through because traffic was really heavy. So we stopped at a mall, and she was like, "This is perfect. We'll eat, and we'll just like walk around and wait for traffic to die down a little bit." So that's what we were doing. And it was the middle of the summer. It was hot. It was so hot, and it was probably 4 to 5 o'clock, something like that. And we're walking around this mall, and Dre, we had already gone school shopping.
We had gone school shopping. I remember going to the Nike store because we bought that old school classics Nike sweatshirt, and I had that on in the mall because I was cold. And then I remember walking through a Macy's, I think we were in.
Yeah. Or Macy's or Nordstrom.
Yeah.
And at this time, she had found my dad's old Ray-Bans, like the really big, blocky, heavy ones. And she was about 7 years old.
Yeah. And I had them on everywhere. Yeah, I was going through this phase where I wore them everywhere.
She thought she was so cool. And then she had high top Converse. So think of like this. And she was always way smaller than the rest of the kids. Like she looked younger.
I've always been pretty short. And petite. At that time, I was like really slim.
Mm-hmm. So she looked like a bean sprout with her long sleeves.
With really short hair. I had Dora hair at that time because of you. So thank you.
I took her to get a haircut, and I sat in the corner and was reading and not paying attention.
She didn't look up for the whole hour and then looked up, and I had Dora hair. They cut my hair way too short.
And I'm the one who got in trouble because Dre didn't tell them to stop.
Well, would you at my age?
Yeah, I would have been like, dude, that's my hair. So, okay, anyway, we're in the mall. We're walking around, and Dre she starts to walk with like
a limp.
Yeah, with a limp, but like a twitch. She's walking around like she's got a twitch. And I remember being mortified because I thought, first of all, I
used to love to like make everybody awkward. Yeah. Like I loved being different and just like acting a fool,
making things uncomfortable,
making everything uncomfortable.
It was so politically incorrect in a mall where she's walking around with the. Oh my gosh, I remember, and I was mortified, and I would tell her, Dre, stop. Someone's going to say something, like you're being offensive. And here she is doing it anyway. And we noticed this lady kind of trailing us for a little bit. And we're like, and she like starts walking over.
She was dressed casually too.
Yeah, she started walking over to us, and I thought, oh my God, Dre's offended her. She's going to say something to my mom. And she goes up to my mom, and she was like, excuse me, ma'am, is this your daughter? And I'm like, oh, and Dre's like twitching still. And my mom's like, yes, can I help you? And she said, I'm a Disney talent scout, and I think your daughter has what it takes. I would love to have her come out and do an audition. And we were like, what?
It wasn't real at the time. And so at that time,
no, it was very real.
Well, it was very real.
Yeah,
yes.
it just didn't feel.
It didn't feel real in that moment.
No.
And I had to pee really bad.
Yes.
Like I was about to pee my pants.
And so.
So bad it was giving you a twitch.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when she came up to me and said all of that, like I didn't even care. I was like, no, I'm about to pee my pants.
Yeah.
Like
she asked my mom, what do you think? And my mom, and Dre's like, I have to go to the bathroom. My mom's like so overwhelmed because Dre's like, I have to go to the bathroom.
And Amanda and B are freaking out. I remember you guys like talking to each other, like, can we get a card? Like,
like, is this legit? Can we get a business card? And so my mom's like overwhelmed about what's happening, right? And Dre's like, I have to go to the bathroom. She's like screaming, I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So my mom's like, can you give the information to my daughters? I have to find her a bathroom. I'm so sorry. And the lady's like, actually, I cannot give you any additional information without the child's consent.
Legally.
Yes.
Yeah,
and so she was like, she looked at Dre. She's like, are you interested? And Dre looked at her and she's like, I have to go to the bathroom.
Ruined it for myself right
and
there.
We're like,
You could have been living in Malibu right now.
yeah.
Do you know how many times people have guilt tripped me with that?
And so we asked her again, can we take a card or can we like come look for you after we take her to the bathroom? And she was like, I'm so sorry. It's all up to her. If she wants more information, I can give you more. And Dre's like, gone. She's like, going to find a bathroom.
So I go pee. I'm relieved. I felt like nothing had just happened. And then we start walking through the mall. And I was really into the Disney store. Yeah. Like every time I was in LA, I had to go in there and I bought something every time. So we walked into the Disney store and I start walking around and, they have a bunch of TVs in there. And they're playing like the new Disney shows and they're like Hannah Montana.
Yeah.
And I start freaking out.
Seriously.
Literally full anxiety attack.
She had an anxiety attack in the back of the
couldn't breathe.
store.
I was about to puke. Like I had just realized what I did.
What you missed.
I started crying, like full mental breakdown. The first one ever. It was terrible.
Could you imagine a 7-year-old having an anxiety attack in the back of the Disney store? And
screaming.
She's like, I can't breathe. And she had sharp pains in her chest. It was crazy. I'll never forget that. And here we are, guys.
Yeah. My dad was so angry when I came home and we told him. He like guilt tripped me so many times about it.
Your literal favorite show is what? Lilo and Stitch?
Yeah. For a long time.
And you could have been the little Lilo.
Yeah.
So it's funny because Amanda and I always talk about Lilo and Stitch and how much it reminds us of a Dre. Like she has that personality of Lilo. And I mean, the scene of Amanda it's me talking about you guys in third person. It's like that scene where the older sister comes home and is like knocking on the door, like she knows Lilo's inside.
And
Lilo's
the door's nailed.
Yeah, she was laying on the floor, like being dramatic. That is
listening to Elvis Presley.
That is totally
that
was us. That was us to the T. Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. There's a big age gap and everything. Yeah. So it was that scene sets their whole relationship up.
Yeah, definitely does.
Except she's making me sit in the corner praying.
Oh yeah.
She used to make me do. She used to. I didn't know how to pray.
It wasn't malicious. You needed a timeout every now and then.
No, she would make me sit in the corner with all of her friends over. They'd all be sitting like in the kitchen, and they'd put me near the pantry and say, "Dre, sit in that corner and pray." And then I would do it silently, and she's like, "I can't hear you. I can't hear you." And she would make me yell it in front of all of her friends.
No, that is not. No, it was never.
Until I started crying.
It was never that big or malicious. No. But if I would try to like scold you or parent you would just like revolt.
I wouldn't listen.
No, and then you would turn into this like rabid monster and bite me and like take off running. Anyway, okay.
Dre's thing was hissing for a while
And
and
biting people. I used to bite everyone.
Yeah, I've been bit by her. I think you were like 13 when I started turning around.
Yeah, your favorite animal is a
Raccoon.
yeah.
Yeah.
It became a raccoon very early in your
Yeah.
so I think that's where you got the hissing. And I
Probably.
remember
Or a possum.
No. No. No.
Some
Not a street rat.
No, not a street rat.
You were probably about 13 when the Dance Dance like video games were out on Wii.
yeah.
No, you
remember?
were younger than that.
I
Were
was
you younger?
younger than that, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Probably
But-
like 11.
Yeah.
We were playing it. We were at the house, and someone came to the door. I can't remember.
Oh, yes.
It was like a delivery. Somebody came to the door,
Yes.
and she opened the door, and they were asking for a parent, and she started barking.
I started barking at them so they'd go away. Because obviously my parent isn't home, you know? Like, what else do I do? We tell
What
you to
else do you
leave?
do?
It wasn't like an aggressive dog. It was just like a.
No, it wasn't aggressive at all.
They looked at her like, what? And she just kept doing it. And then
Yeah.
they left.
They
walked
left.
away. She closed
They
the
were
door. She
creeped
goes
out.
back to Dance Dance Revolution. Okay. So as you've gotten older,
Mhm.
you have had some odd jobs.
Yes.
Tell us about those.
So I think my first job out of high school was cleaning a hotel, cleaning hotel rooms. That was probably my worst job ever. I did get to work with a lot of my friends, so that was cool. But I guess just cleaning up after anybody that, you don't know is weird already. So a lot of stinky rooms that I had to deal with.
Stingy?
Stinky.
Stinky.
Yeah. So I got to do that.
Which is probably gross because
Yeah,
hotel
I
rooms are
don't-
nasty.
And especially where I cleaned them, we get a lot of tourists. So like literally,
European and
yeah,
like
there was
There's cultural
a-
differences.
Yeah, a lot of them. And so, most of them aren't up to the hygiene bar. And so having to clean up after these random people that don't even speak English is like super weird. So that was not fun at all.
what was some of the nastiest things that not nasty. So tell us about like what are some of the gross things about changing rooms and doing actual
Tips.
cleans?
What are your
Tips?
What are your tips for
Tip,
people?
Do
going-
not use a duvet cover in your room because
That's like the bed cover, right?
yeah, because and at least for like the few places that I've cleaned in that town.
And you were working for a below par
Yes,
hotel. This is not
like where they hired high school students to go clean hotel rooms.
Yes, but I'm sure you find these hotels in quintessential tourism traps, usually by
Yeah.
national parks,
And especially in that town, like there aren't very many options. So I mean,
rooms get booked, and
Yeah.
we can all think of multiple locations just like this.
yeah. So specifically at this hotel, we didn't wash duvet covers because that was just an extra thing. And literally the only thing that was properly washed were the linens because a truck would come and pick up just linens
Mhm.
and wash them at like whatever
Mhm.
factory and process them and then bring them back clean. So those were probably the cleanest things in our rooms. And as of towels, like I wouldn't even no, because we had to use our own washer and dryers for them. And it just grosses me out thinking about like the washer and dryer, everybody's towels going through the same washer and dryer. It's just gross. And every once in a while, just for extra cash, they'd want me to bring home towels to wash in my own washer and dryer. And I was like,
really?
Yeah,
Yes.
you don't remember
this was a
that?
huge
No.
deal. And my dad would freak out. He was like, no, like
Your
you're
dad's
not
weird
doing
about that anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I I think I only did it once, and I hand washed them because my dad was like, "You're not throwing those in the washer," and I was like, "I need the extra money, please." But yeah, I had to hand wash them and hang them because my dad was like, "No, that's no, that's not gonna happen."
I bet you that's still probably cleaner than what they had going
Oh
on there.
yeah, probably. Yeah. So that was not fun. It was also really outdated, and yeah, you have high school kids cleaning a room. Like, it's not gonna be the cleanest.
It's not gonna be to the standard of a
No.
Ramada or
No. So that was my first job, and then from there, I worked for other companies. I did Airbnbs and other hotels. And then I worked for a tanning salon. That was interesting. It was fun. The most fun job that I've had because it was super easygoing. I worked by myself. I sat there all day.
you managed the whole thing.
Yeah, basically. And then they had they were onion brokers. I don't even really know what they did still to this day because all I did was file invoices for them.
On top of
and I didn't even really get to speak to my boss, the company owners. I didn't really get to speak to them very often. I spoke to their son. Their son was my manager. But he wanted no part of their farming and stuff like that. So it was just really odd. There was a lot of people calling shots. It wasn't fun in that aspect. But the tanning salon was fun with just having to chill all day.
That's a different culture in itself. Like the people that actually go out and tan.
Oh yeah, because
they have their own quirks. They have their own things that they ask for.
It's a different type of person that goes in
and you were in a
religiously.
You were doing work in a smaller town.
Yeah, and so just even in this area, we were one of the biggest tanning salons because it's not very common for everybody in this area to tan or even afford to be able to do it often, because it's pretty pricey, really. And so at the time, we were one of the biggest tanning salons, and we had a lot of interesting people come in, and most of them older that had money. We had a Pilates studio next door. So after Pilates or before Pilates, all the women from that class would come in and tan, and they were always they always tipped me really well, especially this one. This one would tip me every single time, even if I didn't even speak to her that day. So that was cool. But I had a lot of people passing out in tanning beds. A lot of people, there was this old man specifically that would come in, and he was in a wheelchair. He was old, but he could walk and just rode in this wheelchair just for funsies, I think. And he would come in and lay in a tanning bed.
Well, there. They were playing, and now they're fighting.
Chi-Chi has no idea what's going on.
No.
He's over here.
Chi-Chi is deaf. Deaf. Not death, but that's close by.
Don't even say that.
Poor
How
Chi-Chi.
rude.
He can't even, he does feel vibrations, if you're walking near him.
Yeah, he does, yes.
But other than that, if his eyes are closed, the lights are off.
Yeah, oh yeah. He's really deep sleeper. Anyway, we had this old man that would come in and lay in the worst tanning bed that we had because he couldn't really afford to tan anyway. Plus, he had all of these skin issues, so he really shouldn't have
been tanning.
And he was way too old to even be in one, really.
You didn't have to help him lay down into it.
No, but he would often ask me to help him. And one of the previous employees that had worked there, helped him one time because he would ask all the women that worked there, and he would touch everybody. And so it was his name was on a list, do not go into the room. And after that, they had made a rule, you cannot step in a room with anybody. They have to step out if you're going to go in. So anyways, he would lay in this tanning bed and sing and scream Bible verses. And it was terrifying. You
didn't know if he was going through an exorcism or something?
Well, yeah, he would scream Bible verses and then just laugh and make weird noises after. And so it used to creep me out every time you went by. And so he doesn't live in that town. But he would get dropped off by the bus. And so every, like, I think Tuesday and Thursday, he'd get dropped off by the bus. And I would know because he would zoom past on his scooter across the street from, like, the bank to, like, the gym. I just see him flash back by the window. And I already knew, like, oh, okay, he's going to make the loop. He's going to come down in front of the store, and he's going to try to come in. So I'd go and lock the door really quick and, like, sit under the desk and just wait for him to, like, pass by. And, like, you know, I have my closed, like, thing up so he wouldn't come in. And I do it all the time, every time he was in town.
That's creepy. There's a lot of old people that are creepy.
But also the people passing out in tanning beds, I almost had to call, I think, the cops, and they told me to call the firefighters because we were right behind the fire hall.
So they could just walk over.
Yeah, they could have just walked over through the back door and, you know, broken into this room. But I broke in. Well, first of all, I called my boss because I was like, okay, this person's been in a tanning bed.
Start from the beginning.
Okay, so this person has a lot of, like, drug issues, I think, but she would come in all the time, and she would constantly fall asleep in these tanning beds. Her tanning time was 20 minutes because it was a slow bed. But after
they're preset times.
Yeah, they're
right?
preset times. After the 20 minutes, it shuts off. So it was completely fine. Like, she wasn't, like, dying of skin cancer or anything. But she would fall asleep all the time, and I would have to, like, bang on her door just to wake her up. And this specific time, she was not waking up, and it was terrifying. And the door was locked. Like, I couldn't get in, and I was freaking out. I didn't know what to do. So I called my boss, and my manager was like, oh, I don't know what to do. Call my mom. And so I call his mom, and I'm, like, explaining the situation. She's like, oh, yeah, I don't know what to do, but she does it all the time. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what to do either. So she was like, well, I give you permission to, like, try to break into the door, like, try to open it. And so I tried to do that, and I couldn't get in. And she was like, okay, well, call the police, or, like, go to the fire station, you know, across, and go get a firefighter or something. And I was like, well, that's embarrassing because, like, I don't want to have to do that either. You know, like, I want to take it, you know, I want to be able to do it myself. And so I finally unlocked the door, and she's, like, completely naked, obviously. And she is passed out. Like, I'm, like, opening the door real quick and, like, yelling and just banging on the walls, like, doing everything possible, and she was not waking up. I literally thought she was dead. Like, terrified. And so at that point I was like, oh my gosh, I'm literally gonna have to call a firefighter because I think she's actually dead. And then all of a sudden she wakes up and she is completely fine. She's like, oh, I took a nap, sorry. And I'm like, dude, you've been here for like 2 hours. I haven't been able to wake you up. Like,
gosh.
what are you doing?
Was the bed off? Like,
yeah, it was off.
timed
After
out, right?
20 minutes, yeah.
So she just maybe took some sleeping pills or
Yeah.
muscle relaxants.
Yeah, I think so. I think she was on a whole another planet.
She's on a cocktail.
Yeah, but that was definitely the scariest, like, situation that I've had there.
Wow.
That's crazy. Well, at least she didn't fry.
No, right? I know. That's when I told everybody that story. They were like, "Oh my god, what's that movie?"
What did she look like when she came out?
No, what's that movie?
Give us more detail.
I don't know. It's a horror movie. It's kind of like Saw. Final Destination. I guess that happens in the movie where somebody gets locked in a tanning bed and it doesn't shut off and they like fry. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, Final Destination. And I was like, no, that's not the case. But close, I guess.
That just gave me the heebs.
Yeah, no. That would hurt.
Heebs.
It would hurt.
That's crazy. So what are some of the takeaways from some like etiquette? What would you say if you're going to go to a tanning place to be not a disgusting person or to be a good clean person? Client.
We had someone piss in our trash can in one of the tanning rooms.
So don't pee in the trash can.
Don't pee in the trash can.
Check. Number one.
Definitely like make sure if you're laying on a bed to like wipe down the bed when you're done, because if not, like I've had people like leave stains and like total like shit marks. And it was, people just aren't clean and they don't care. And we had a lot of people that stole. So I don't know.
What is there to steal in there?
tanning lotions.
Oh, okay.
And so we had like, and they weren't like full bottles, but they were samples. And I mean, it's like $1 for a sample. So I'm like, come on. Like you just paid for a full session. I could have given you $1 back to pay for a sample. So yeah, just like be clean up after yourself, and definitely
don't take a drug cocktail before you pass out for 2 hours.
And definitely like be friendly, because I had a lot of older ladies that like, it sucks. Like they had money, you know, but they never once wanted to talk to me. Like they'd come in and they were super rude and was like, okay, this bed, 10 minutes. Or like if I didn't know their name or I didn't already know what bed or how long.
Did they expect you to know the routine?
Yes. They would be angry and like they'd make a comment to my boss or something. So yeah, just definitely be like cool and friendly.
And what are some of the expectations that somebody could expect from a tanning service? Like you go in, you do your typical tan, and that's it? Like,
yeah.
Is it clean? Is it, I mean, you go in and clean every time?
So I would have to go and clean each bed, you know, after they're used. So they're already clean. And we provided towels and goggles already. And you're not supposed to like not use goggles. A lot of people didn't, but don't tell me that, you know, because don't tell me that you're not going to use goggles, because then you can obviously sue us. But, no, it's pretty fast. Like you go in 10 minutes, lay on a bed and just leave.
And what is the male to female ratio? Were there a lot of men?
Actually, there was a lot of men, a lot of older, and mostly older, but like there was a lot of men that would come in and was super embarrassed about it, which like, I mean, okay, whatever. But most of them were like gym rats. And there was a gym across the street, so they'd all sneak over and just go tan, and never in a tanning bed. They'd always use a stand-up bed, because I don't know why, but they, never wanted to use a bed.
So there's two different types then. There's a stand-in or like a walk-in style.
Yeah, there's a walk-in and then just a regular tanning bed.
Does that get the bottom of your feet?
Actually, I don't know.
I'm kidding.
So was there like a demographic that really surprised you?
No. I think just seeing younger men in general was just like weird to me, because we wouldn't get them like all the time, but it was always the same few that would come in. And they were very secretive about it. There was one man that brought in a loofah and asked me to keep it behind the counter for him every time he came in so that he can use it. And I was like,
Use it for what?
I don't know, because after he asked me to put it behind the counter, he never once asked for it.
He didn't use it in the room then. He just
brought me a loofah with his name on it and was like, can you keep it behind the counter so I can use it the next time? And I was like, sure. So I have a video of me receiving it I saved it.
Oh my gosh.
I saved it. I took a Snapchat right after, and I was like, this man just gave me a loofah, and I mean, what just happened? Yeah.
Well, I know that you obviously have to exfoliate and stuff before you go to.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're not applying lotion or anything, then there's no point.
Interesting.
And most of these men didn't apply lotion. So, yeah.
So it's just a thing that I don't know about. I don't know much about tanning at all.
There's also tingling lotions that terrify me. It makes the blood come up to your skin, apparently, and it tingles really bad for like hours. But it makes you tan like 10 times darker, apparently. Oh. I don't know if it's true or not. I had a lot of people try it out, and they never used it again because it hurt too much.
Made their skin crawl?
Yeah.
Jeez.
All right.
Well, that's interesting. So that's pretty much you also worked with the United Way.
I did. That was recent. I completely forgot about that, actually. Yeah, I worked for United Way. I was a CARES outreach specialist, and I enjoyed my time there. I'm glad I left, because now, I don't know, I may get to work with them again. But
it was a temporary position.
It was a temporary position. It definitely taught me a lot, and I was very grateful for that position. I think after leaving the tanning business, it was something that I definitely needed. I needed, I don't know. I just
consistency, stability.
Yeah, stability.
Well, and what it did was, well, basically what you were doing.
It opened up a door, really.
Yeah, but it made you deal with your uncomfortable part of like talking to people and being
making
more,
phone calls.
Yeah. At the beginning, you were really like put off by it, and then by the end,
no, I wasn't excited by it, and then by the end, I felt like
that was your strongest point.
Yeah.
I mean, you started making scripts and stuff. Like you could already foresee the questions you were going to be asked and how to approach those conversations.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So basically we were given this funding by the county. It was $1 million. I don't think it was all funded by the county.
No, it was a lot of state funding and national funding.
It was for COVID relief.
It was COVID relief.
Yeah, it was a COVID relief program. So I mean, it was great. I loved the people I worked with. Unfortunately, some of the people that I had to deal with were kind of shitty. But it taught me a lot, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, there were people that really needed it.
Yes, versus the people that took advantage of it.
Yeah.
And that was the hardest part of the job, is knowing that people were taking advantage of it. But because they answered the questions that I asked correctly and filled out their application correctly,
they checked all the boxes.
I couldn't deny it them.
Yeah.
So that was very difficult for me.
But what did you learn from it? I mean, you learned that you could talk to people that you hadn't. You were strangers. Complete strangers.
I felt like I just opened up a lot socially, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
We saw that.
I before was very quiet. I'm very introvert. So just speaking to anybody in general was difficult for me. And after working for United Way, it just opened me up, and it made me a completely different person, I feel like.
It's a FedEx truck that drove by, and every time...
Darn you, FedEx.
Sadie has the frequency or something down.
She has
to that truck.
Senses.
Yeah. Damn FedEx! I'm gonna get her. I'm gonna get that driver one day.
We're gonna have to lock her up every time we do this.
Lock her up.
up.
Chain her to the bed.
In the dungeon.
Yeah, let's do it. Just kidding.
I'm looking forward to Chinese food.
Yeah, well, we're almost there. We're almost there. So, what are some of the other things we wanted to talk about?
You said you want to talk about dancing.
Oh.
I don't know if we...
Oh.
Well, do you want to cover it in your episode?
We can cover it in my episode.
Okay.
Do you want to talk about it now?
This is not like exotic dancing, right?
No, I feel like... No. No. Okay. I had a comment. Are we doing yours?
Eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually we are going to.
Okay.
Some of my... basically, when I first started dating Amanda, jealousy was very much so in Dre's relationship.
Yeah.
Because she saw that
I was
Amanda,
attached to Amanda.
Yeah, well, you guys were buddies.
Yeah.
You guys were legit Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
And so me coming into the relationship
was very difficult.
And you were young. You were 6th grade, I think, when I started coming around, which is crazy because we've been together that long. It's just time has flown by. But one of the things, like it was like the first time I met your dad, I think. Dre was there, and
I think it was the second time, but yeah.
Okay, well, my memory is not that
it was
clear.
Right up there.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But Dre, we're all out in the front yard and we're talking and stuff, and Dre comes up and just rips a fart on my leg, just walks by and just crop dusts me.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this 11-year-old kid? Like, what in God's green earth did she just do to me? I didn't
like you, and so that was my way of showing it. Apparently,
that is that's just her identity and personality.
You know what?
Coming
Since
out.
Then, I
have farted on me multiple times.
I have learned to appreciate you and appreciate everything you have done for me, and I think a real growing point for the both of us was when I moved in with you. That's another thing. I lived with the both of you for
when we were in college.
Almost a year. Mm-hmm. And you guys had just started dating. So
We
right?
had just
we were
You
probably
had
together
just moved
2 or
in
3
with
years.
each other.
Yeah, we had
So
just moved in
it
with each
was-
other. It was our first time being like
Yeah.
in the same space ever because we
Yeah.
dated long distance for 2 years, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, boom, we're together.
And then boom, you have a child.
Yeah.
Like
Not just a child, but like a
not just a child, but like
13-year-old or 14-year-old.
Freshman in high
I was a
school.
freshman in high school, and so obviously I was just, and at the time, like my headspace, like I was just in a different like area. I wasn't doing very well, and you guys really helped me out by taking me in. But I felt like that was a real,
It's the onions.
yeah. I felt like that was a real growing period for like the three of us.
Yeah.
because
Me too.
yeah, you too, because I felt like you really grew up from that experience. Like you at first when I showed up, you like were kind of iffy about it. We weren't
Yeah.
really like into each other yet. We didn't really like each other. And then at the end of it, me and you were like way cooler than me and Amanda were.
Yeah. And for me, it wasn't that much of a difference because
No,
it
because
was-
you had
I-
lived it.
Yeah, I had
but
lived it.
for
and-
Craig that didn't have to take that responsibility on
No.
with his younger sibling,
yeah,
to just take on a whole child, and like literally you were my parent
Yeah.
for a full
we
year.
were the guardians.
I think it made a really big impact on you, even though you don't realize it.
I think that's definitely where your relationship like grew because, well, then the similarities between the two of you.
But
started
also Amanda was like, both of you were going to school full time, yes, but like Amanda went to work right after, and she wasn't home until like 7:00. And you had kind of the opposite schedule where like you were up all night, and morning, but like you were home in the evenings more. And so when I was there, I was dancing. That was kind of like the only time I got to get out. You were taking me to dance practice every
Mhm.
time. And so I really got to spend more time with you than I did Amanda the whole entire time that I was there.
Mm-hmm. And then you guys would have like Netflix binge
Yeah,
watching
and then
sessions.
we'd sit
That's when
downstairs
Netflix was like
every
just coming out.
Yeah.
every Sunday and watch those two shows. Yeah.
Prison Break.
But
oh my
yes.
gosh.
Oh, we
Prison
forgot
Break.
about Prison Break. Yeah.
And
I
The
would
Walking
watch
Dead.
The Walking Dead and
and-
Sons of Anarchy.
And we watched
Bates
Motel.
Motel.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Not me. I watched my own TV.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me at that time, I was getting used to living with Amanda because we had a 2-year relationship, but it was distant. And so with us moving together, that was a big step for me anyways. And I was already kind of worried about how my parents perceived that.
Yeah. I think your parents were kind of
Unsure. I think they were
unsure
nervous too.
about even taking me in too.
Well, they were unsure because we were young and we were in college, and that was just not an expected outcome for us, like to
Yeah.
have to deal with having a
Me
minor
on
in the
top of it.
house.
Yeah.
And so I think that they trusted us. They were leery. They didn't know what to expect out of it, but they just said, "Okay, you're gonna be an adult, and you're going to help raise this kid," and it worked out. Yeah, I believe I was not happy about it at first,
Yeah, you definitely were not.
and it wasn't. It was more of like, this shouldn't be us. We shouldn't be doing this.
No,
This
and
should
I
be
completely understand that.
this should be your parents doing this. But I understand that you needed to get out of the space that
but
you were
also,
in,
yes.
because you were having a hard time in high school.
Yeah.
At the time, and you were your confidence wasn't very high.
No.
You were being bullied. You had some issues with just the friends that you were hanging out with,
And school on top of that.
and then
Yeah.
school was very tough for you on top of that.
And at the time, we were kind of going through the progress of like figuring out mentally what was like
what was happening with
what
her.
was blocking me with school.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just in a dark place.
Yeah, and so you moved here, and we had fun. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, you know,
It
when you
didn't
put
end up how I would have liked it to,
Yeah.
educational wise.
Mhm.
yeah,
But I think it was a strong growing period for the three of us, and I came out with, I don't know, I think I learned more than I
you
expected
thought
to.
Yeah, you thought you were going to.
Even though it wasn't school.
Yeah. See, and for me, it was a no-brainer. Like, she was gonna come. We were gonna. it wasn't anything extra out of the ordinary because I had already
You had a regular job.
Yes, I had a regular
You were
job.
out of you had already gotten your undergrad out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
You moved to Lubbock, Texas to with a job because we were going to continue our relationship. So you were done with Stillwater, and the next step for you was you got hired by the law school at Texas Tech.
Yeah, I had a full-time job, and then I got a call. I had been on my job maybe 4 months or something like that, and then I got a call 2 weeks or a week after the semester had started saying that they had funding for a graduate assistant position at the school. And obviously I jumped on it. And so on top of doing that, part of my prerequisite was to work for the college on top of going to school. I had a scholarship for that. And then on top of that, I had a couple part-time jobs. So I essentially was working full-time plus some and going to school. And you were going to school full-time. But when this whole thing came up with Dre, it was a no-brainer for me. Like, okay, yeah, she's going to come and she's going to live here and we're going to figure it out. And at the time, I should have talked to you about it more, but I was just so confident. And I knew that if anybody, if she was going to go anywhere and have a good outcome out of it, it was going to be with me. And I knew that I was that confident that she needed this time here, and I was going to provide that to her. I didn't think that it was going to be full-time or long-term, which obviously wasn't. It wasn't even a year, I don't think. But it happened. And even looking back, like it doesn't seem like a highlight or anything or a big deal.
It wasn't a big deal because we didn't even think about it until now. I mean, it was just natural.
Mm-hmm. It was pretty natural in our process or journey or whatever. But I'm sure to you it was a huge deal, and to your parents it was a huge deal. And well, obviously
we had a lot of fights while I was there.
There were a lot of
at the beginning.
Well, there was some adjustments that we needed to clarify, and it wasn't.
I think going from my dad's house where I had like free reign and going to your house where it was very
structured.
It was very structured, and you guys had a lot of expectations for me.
Mm-hmm.
And and it was just difficult to go from like doing whatever I wanted to like
there were
having
rules.
chores and rules and things I needed to get done. So it's definitely different.
Yeah.
Your experience in that household was a lot like my experience growing up, and I think that's probably why, I did use my childhood to raise you.
Yeah.
In a sense, and you were going to school online.
Yes.
So you weren't actually physically going to school. And so you were at home. So when I was at class, Amanda was working. I was worried about what you were doing.
Yeah.
Because you were young. Mm-hmm. There was Netflix at that time. I'm sure you had times where you screwed off and didn't do anything. But, you had your assignments that you had to finish. And if you didn't finish them, there were consequences.
Yeah.
And for me, I didn't think I was going to have to implement my dad's rules at that early in my life.
And
but
even then, at first when I got there, I did not take the both of you seriously at all.
But you learned quickly because
there
were consequences.
As there are in life, guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a free ride. There's no that you have to put in work to achieve something. So I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, so we have a long-term relationship here, folks. And now we're all working together.
Yep. Which it's natural for us because we feel we've already had that bond. We've already had that awkward stage of living together and everything else. So yeah, it's natural.
Yeah.
And that's why she fits so well on our team.
Mm-hmm.
That's why she fits so well. But I think we covered
it.
We covered a lot.
Yeah.
And now you're engaged. Just to close it out, you're engaged to an awesome dude, Dylan, and that's
the next
weird.
Step.
I know it is weird.
That's the next step. Yeah, you're the little kid that we've watched grow up, and it's
weird how far
awesome.
I've come.
It isn't weird. It's cool. It's cool to see the growth.
Yeah.
Probably weird for you and like self-reflection. I think self-reflection for anybody is kind of like, but no, you've come very, very far. We're proud of you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Nope. I'm just ready for Chinese.
Chinese.
All right, folks, we gotta go. We got Chinese on the mind. And thank you for listening to our third episode
on the Crossfire Podcast.
on the Crossfire Podcast, brought to you by Outlaw Legacy. And don't forget to check out outlawlegacy.com for some merch. We've got new merch coming up on the store. Go check it out.
That's true. We got all kinds of new t-shirt designs and hats, and if you're interested, check them out. If you're local, you could probably even pick them up, or we can deliver, so let us know. This is the Crossfire Podcast, brought to you by Outlaw Legacy.